What's up, everybody? Today is November 28th, 2023, and today I'm going to be talking about fast food prices. So, a couple things sparked this. For one, I was reading the news and there was an article about how fast food prices have been going up, which is not a surprise. I mean, food prices are always going to go up when wages go up, whatever production prices go up, land prices go up. Everything goes up. So anyhow, so the article was talking about that, and so that kind of sparked me thinking about it, and so I wanted to talk about it specifically. I'm going to give a couple of predictions that I have about a couple things related to fast food. And before I go into that, before I go into my predictions, one major thing I want to talk about is in California. So, I mean, minimum wage generally goes up in some states anyway. Some states, minimum wage stays stagnant. Some states, it goes up like regularly, like Washington, California, and wherever, maybe New York state, minimum wage slowly goes up. And again, that is part of why prices are higher, right? Okay, but California just passed something to where fast food workers who work at chain fast food restaurants with 60 or more locations will be getting paid $20 an hour. Okay, so that's kind of specific, but it does include several big chain food places. Okay, and this is going to get into my prediction. So, so that means there's a lot of businesses that are just businesses, and there's businesses that are franchises. Like for McDonald's, for example. So McDonald's is a big corporation, and they have their own corporate McDonald's locations, but they also franchise out McDonald's locations as well. So let's just say, for example, I was a millionaire or whatever, and I was like, hey, I would like to have a McDonald's, and so I paid the money and I get one location. So I just want one location. I just want one McDonald's for myself. Okay, and so I own a McDonald's, and I have to pay employees and all of these things, right? Okay, so minimum wage laws can vary, like in California, depending on how many employees you have, or in this case, how many locations you have. So since I only own one location, maybe I have, say, 20 employees, something like that, I may be exempt from certain minimum wage laws. Like, for example, I remember, I think it was a couple years back, I think minimum wage in California was, let's just say $16 an hour, right? But if you had, say, less than whatever, 20 employees or something like that, you could pay your employees like 50 cents less. So your employees could get paid 15.50 an hour instead of $16 an hour. Just for example, right? Okay, so with this new minimum wage in California, right? Since I only own one McDonald's in this hypothetical scenario, I wouldn't have to pay my employees $20 an hour because I don't have 60 locations. I only have one location. I would only have to pay my employees standard California minimum wage, whatever. I don't know what that is currently, 16.75, whatever California minimum wage is right now. Okay, so who the businesses who would have to pay that is if you say you happen to be a franchisee and you just so happen to have 60 locations, then you'd have to pay your employees $20 an hour. But that's rare. I don't think there's very many franchise owners who own that many franchise locations. Maybe they do. If they do, they might want to scale it down a little bit so they don't have to pay their employees that much. But in general, it's going to affect places like Chipotle, In-N-Out, Five Guys, fast food businesses that aren't franchised, and so they have more than 60 locations. So In-N-Out has more than 60 locations in California. Five Guys probably has more than 60 locations in California. Who else did I just say? I just said? My memory is not too good sometimes. But anyhow, that's gonna bother me. Five Guys, In-N-Out, Can't believe I just said it. Anyhow, so the point is, these locations are going to have to pay their employees in California. They're going to have to pay their employees $20 an hour or more. So price. Chipotle, Five Guys, In-N-Out. Okay, just off the top of my head. Okay, and so naturally, they're gonna have to raise their prices. That's just how it is. If you have to pay each one of your employees $20 an hour, so think about this for a moment. You have to pay each one of your employees $20 an hour, right? So let's just say you have 5 employees on the clock at any given time. That's $100 an hour that you're losing just in labor, and so you have to make that up somehow. Forget all the other costs on food, rent, or land that you pay for, any of that. If you're paying your employees $20 an hour and you have 5 employees on the clock, and say that they're on the clock for an hour, that's $100 an hour that you're losing as an employer. So again, naturally, these places are going to have to raise prices, right? So people already talked about that. That's kind of one thing they talked about in the news article, but that's not a surprise to anybody, right? Now, here comes my predictions. So because of that, let's start with California. Okay, prices are going up everywhere, but let's start with California. Because of that, like I said, say there is a franchise owner. Let's just say someone, owns a bunch of Taco Bells or McDonald's, or and it's more than 60 locations in California. Again, they might be like, okay, well, I own 62 McDonald's franchise. Well, I'm going to bump it down to 55. And that way I could just pay my employees the normal minimum wage. That could happen. I'm not going to say that's going to happen. That could happen. Or a bigger thing that I predict very well might happen is the big franchises, not In-N-Out, but maybe like Five Guys or other ones. They may just decide, you know what, we're just going to get out of California completely. Five Guys might say, we already have to charge so much. Chipotle too. We already have to charge so much for our food. Now we have to pay our employees $20 an hour. We're going to have to bump prices. Customers aren't going to like it. How about we just, get out of the state completely? That may happen. I would say not there's a strong possibility, but I would say that it's not a remote possibility either. So basically, don't be surprised if that happens. If they might try it out for a little while. Again, Five Guys, Chipotle, they're like, okay, we'll pay our employees $20 an hour for a while, raise prices a little bit, see what the customers say. And if there's too much pushback, they're like, okay, this is not working. The minimum wage is too high. Maybe they'll just get out of California, right? But in general, regardless if they do that or not, like I said, prices are going up across the board. Ironically, even in states that have like low minimum wage, the prices are still going up. Like I've told you guys, I've lived in Utah before. I've heard about prices in Idaho being high, and both those places have low minimum wage. So sometimes these companies are just bumping up prices anyways. Like I said, because there are other factors. The prices of, I don't know, potatoes might go up, or hamburger meat, or whatever, paying rent on land, whatever it may be. So prices kind of go up generally anyways, right? Okay, so anyhow, so my first prediction is that at least in California, I wouldn't be surprised if you see like a mass exodus of certain fast food places that just simply cannot pay their employees $20 an hour. I think In-N-Out will be fine. They do pretty good. Plus, they have so many locations in California. In-N-Out's not going to pull out of California. They're just going to bump their prices, plain and simple. So expect that. But like I said, ones that don't have so many locations, like Five Guys or other ones that I just can't think of off the top of my head, I would not be surprised they pull out of California completely. That's my first prediction. My second prediction overall is that I think that some fast food places may crumble altogether in any state. So the reason I say that, and I'm going to mention a couple, the reason I say that is you can only charge so much for a given thing before customers are like, this is too much for this product. Everyone has in their head kind of idea how much they should pay for any given thing. Like you have an idea in your head, like a general idea, like okay, toilet paper this costs this much, and an apple costs this much, a hamburger costs this much, a pizza costs this much, a brand new car costs this much, And so companies, they try to push that boundary as much as possible, trying to push your tolerance of what you'll be willing to pay for a given thing. But I believe there's a breaking point. So the two that I'm going to mention are Subway and Chipotle. Okay, so Subway, the main thing is sandwiches, and Chipotle, the main thing is burritos. And both those places, again, in every state, the prices are getting outrageous. Oh, for example, at Subway, the whole $5 foot long, out the window, you know, and so, Subway's raised their prices. A foot long is, I mean, I don't know, $10, $15, how much it is. And it's starting to get to the point where in people's minds, it's like, this is too much for this product. You start associating it with other products. You're like, wait a minute, I'm paying, say, $15 for a sub. You're like, I could get, a couple of pizzas or like a really big pizza for that price, and it's more food. Or you start thinking, hey, I could just go to the store and get all the ingredients myself and make maybe several sandwiches and stuff like that. There comes a breaking point, and with Subway, it's kind of a double irony. I'm going to tell you, I really think that like Subway is on the verge of collapse, and I'm going to tell you, Subway shot themselves in the foot by having the $5 foot longs. Okay, because once you do that, again, a customer is going to associate that in their head. Okay, this is how much this costs for this particular item at this location, or this place, right? And so for years, however long, maybe decades, however long, you could get a sub at Subway for a relatively good price, $5. And so customers associated that food item with that cost. Okay. And so when Subway shot up the prices, your brain is naturally like, no, that's not how much a sandwich costs. You're thinking it's the same product that I've been always getting. Same meat, same cheese, same bread, all this kind of stuff, right? But I'm paying twice as much, 3 times as much. And then you start thinking, wait a minute, minimum wage has not gone up 2, 3 times. Why am I paying 2, 3 times, for this sandwich? Okay. So again, they shot themselves in the foot by having a cheaper price on their sandwiches initially. Whereas, for example, say somewhere like Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's never had a $5 footlong. Their Jersey Mike's have always been a little bit more money for their sandwiches. And so you've always associated in your mind, oh, Jersey Mike's, a little bit more money. You're thinking it's more money, it's more quality, something like that. You're associated. When something is cheap, you're associating in your mind with low quality. And so people have it in their mind from years of advertising and paying those prices that Subway is cheap. Cheap prices, cheap quality. But now it's the same quality, same sandwich, all of that, but now they're charging more. Okay, so now in a last-ditch effort, what Subway's trying to do, their latest thing is like, oh, well, now we cut our meats fresh in store. They're trying to change the mentality of, no, our products are not cheap quality. It's higher quality, like Jersey Mike's, like Jimmy John's, because we cut our meat fresh in store. They're trying to alter your mentality so you don't mind paying that higher prices. I don't think people are going to be fooled by it. Again, for so many years, maybe decades, you got so used to, no, Subway is cheap, like Little Caesars. You got it in your mind, Little Caesars is cheap pizza, okay? And so say all of a sudden, Little Caesars started charging like $15 for their just regular, say, pepperoni and cheese pizza. You're like, no, this is cheap food, Because, again, for years, for decades, your mind is associated with Little Caesars cheap. Subway cheap, right? So Little Caesars is doing pretty good. They try to push as far as they can. Maybe you pay like $7 for a pizza now, maybe $8. A little bit more. Oh well, we put a little bit more cheese, more pepperoni. That's why we charge you more. But Subway's like, we're charging you the same price, and the only difference is, oh well, our meats are cut fresh now, right? So I don't think it's gonna work. Okay. So either one of two things I think is going to happen with Subway. Either A, they're just going to completely buckle and go out of business, or like massively downscale, massively within the next, say, 5 to 10 years. Subway. Um, Another thing that they're trying, Subway, is that they have like smaller sandwiches. So it's the shrinkflation. That's one thing I was going to talk about. So for those who don't know what shrinkflation is, it's charging the same price but for a smaller product. So for example, I'll use Little Caesars as an example. They haven't done this. I'm just saying if they did this. So Little Caesars pepperoni or cheese pizza. Let's just say it's $7, $8, whatever it is, right? But now let's say they're still charging $7, $8, but instead of the large like they normally sell, they bump it down to a medium. So a little bit less dough, a little bit less cheese, a little bit less pepperoni, right? That's shrinkflation. Same price, smaller product. They're not doing that. I'm just saying, right? So that's kind of what Subway's doing. They have like little sandwiches they're promoting. You're like, oh, you get these tiny little sandwiches. They're like, I don't know, $2 or something like that. Like a 1/4 of a sandwich, or maybe even smaller than that. Or maybe try to promote their 6-inch sandwich, Oh, well, say, I don't know what the price was, say that, oh, our 6-inch sandwich is only $5, where again, it used to be $5 for a foot long. So basically, Subway's kind of trying to do the shrinkflation thing a little bit. Basically, their main goal is to get a certain amount of money from you. Say $5, $10, what it is, right? Whatever it is. But they want to give you less product for that money they get out of you. So they're like, okay, say we want to get $10 out of a customer, okay? But we can't give them a whole big foot long with all these toppings and all this kind of stuff. That doesn't work because they're worried about their profit margins or whatever, right? So we want to get that $10 out of customers, but we want to give them less product. So again, they might try to push little sandwiches or half a sandwich, or oh hey, you get a little sandwich and a soda and some chips. Cheap things. Things are like really really cheap. So so I think either A, Subway is just going to buckle completely and go out of business, or just vastly cut down the number of stores they have because they have so many stores. Or they're going to have to reform or the only other thing, if they want to survive, Subway, they're going to have to massively just change their whole pricing structure, or the food that they offer you. I don't know if they need to start offering 2 subs for the price of 1. Like I said, if the company has a price point, it's like, hey, we want to get $15 out of a customer. It's like, okay, well, what if we give them 2 footlongs for $15, or 2 6-inches sandwiches and chips and a drink? You know what I'm saying? They would have to go back to the boardroom and think about, hey, how can we do this? Because they're losing customers fast. Almost every Subway that I see or I go to, nobody's there. People are trashing it online, stock market people and stuff like that, because they're declining. It's just too much money, right? And it's the same thing with Chipotle. You could only charge so much, again, for anything. And especially certain things like a burrito, people have it in their minds. A burrito is just a simple food. It's a cheap food. It's not like a luxury food. Burrito is not like steak or caviar or something like that. Burrito is a cheap food. You take a tortilla, you throw some stuff in it. It's a simple to make. It's simple. It's supposed to be cheap, right? And so, when people were paying, say 10 years back or whatever, 15 years back, people were paying I don't know, $7, $8 for a Chipotle burrito. It's kind of expensive, but Chipotle's I don't want to say deception, but their advertising, how they advertise it. Oh well, our ingredients are better quality, right? And people kind of fell for it. Okay, your ingredients are a little bit better quality. I don't mind paying, I don't know, $7, $8 for a burrito, right? But again, now 10, 15 years later, it's the same product. Your quality hasn't increased any, right? It's the same beans, same rice, same tortilla. Now you're charging what, $10, $15 for a burrito? And how far can you go up in price before your customers say no? You're gonna charge $20 for a burrito eventually? There has to be a point, and when people say no, I'm not paying that. So again, the only options are A, they resort to the shrinkflation. Maybe Chipotle would have to change their whole structure of, instead of being able to get, at Chipotle you go there and you can get however much rice, however much beans you want, however much lettuce or whatever else you want, So they might be like, okay, well, forget that. We can't raise prices anymore, so we're just going to stop giving you so much food. That is one option. Be like, oh, you can only get so much rice, like one scoop of rice, one scoop of beans, this and that. That way they don't have to keep raising their prices. So that's an option. They're like, well, we don't want to buckle completely as a company, so let's kind of go for the shrinkflation route and charge the same amount of money but for less product, because you're not being able to get like double rice, double beans, so you're getting less product but for the same money. So my prediction is, don't be surprised if places like Chipotle, Subway, they start going for that shrinkflation route where they're charging the same amount but some kind of like trickery for less product or whatever. So don't be surprised, because their main thing is they don't want to go out of business, right? And so they're going to fight tooth and nail to stop that. And so like I said, either they have to downsize or shrink inflate, or offer deals. That's kind of the new thing nowadays too, especially like pizza places. It's like, okay, well, if you get 2 or more like pizza items, so you get like a pizza and some wings, oh well, you only have to pay, I don't know, like $7 a piece. Pizza Hut, Domino's, something like that, and so places like Chipotle and Subway, they could start doing that too. Like I said, offering, instead of like one price for one thing, this sub costs this much, basically throw your mind off with the math a little bit. Oh, you get this and that for this price, and so something. My general overall point is, something is going to have to give, or something is going to buckle in the fast food industry, because it just, quite frankly, you can't just continue just to increase prices, especially on certain things. With cars, they're able to get away with it. God knows how they do that, but every year, car prices are a little bit more. You go back 20, 30 years, a brand new car was maybe like $10,000, say like 30 years ago. Now it's what, 40, 50, $60,000, They just like, oh, wow, this, new technology, this and that. And so that's how the car companies are able to get away with it. But food, you can't, because it's the same product. 10, 20 years ago, it's virtually the same Subway sandwich as you're getting now. And so they're sitting here trying to find all kinds of crazy, manipulation tactics to try to convince you that you should pay more now for the same product. And there's going to come a point, this is my prediction, and people aren't going to pay it. Like I said, people are already stopping going to Subway. I see a decline in business at Chipotle and other places. And so, yeah, so those are my predictions. As far as California is concerned, don't be surprised if you see an exodus of certain companies, because they just can't pay the $20 an hour. Also in California, prices are going to go up even more, because that $20 minimum wage, for, like I said, places like In-N-Out, or I don't know if Starbucks is cool, because Starbucks does sell food, so I don't know if they would be forced to pay their employees $20 an hour as well. They might already. But anyhow, the point is, whatever companies do stay and that do have to pay their employees $20 an hour, prices are going to go up. Expect that. That's going to happen. Like more so than the other places, right? And then, like I said, in general, these places, like I said, I mentioned a few, but just in general, for ones that I didn't mention, any kind of food business, like Little Caesars, say all of a sudden they try to shoot up their prices, right? People wouldn't pay it. There's only so much you're going to pay, because you've associated their food with cheaper quality, right? And so far, Little Caesars, I don't know what they're doing, but they're doing good of, not going through the roof with their prices. But Subway, Five Guys is getting ridiculous. It's like, how much can you charge for a hamburger? And it's either like, okay, well, you're either going to have to shut down your business, or you're going to have to make those meat patties smaller to save on beef costs, or, give your customers less fries, but for the same price. Right now, you go to Five Guys and say it's, I don't know, $6, $7 for a big bag of fries, right? Well, they may, say next year, in the short future, they may charge you the same $6, $7, but you might not get a big old bag of fries anymore. You may not get free peanuts anymore. Maybe no more unlimited toppings at Five Guys. The main point is, things are going to have to change. They're not going to be able to continue to raise prices indefinitely. because you can only charge so much for certain things, especially when those things are not changing. You're not selling a brand new car. There's no new technology on that Subway sandwich. There's no new technology on that Chipotle burrito. There's nothing new fancy, but I don't care how you cut it, slice it, flip it, toss it, shake it, whatever. It's the same product. People ain't dumb. People ain't going to fall for it. So they're going to have to figure something out. Anyhow, those are my predictions. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.